People have a lot of opinions on Ubuntu Linux and Canonical, but one thing you cannot deny is they offer really long LTS periods. One might even argue, maybe just a little bit too long, as once again, the LTS window has been expanded. Now, you probably have a number in your head on how long that window is. It's probably going to be 5 years. So if we take the latest LTS, that being 24.04 LTS, 5 years from now is 2029. And for the standard model, that is still what it is. And a new LTS released once every 2 years on the even year. So next is 2604, that goes until 2031, then 2804, 2033, so on and so forth. And according to Canonical, an estimated 95% of all Ubuntu installations are LTS releases. This might sound crazy from a desktop perspective, but if we consider enterprise use, if we consider servers, that makes sense, right? Who is running a non-LTS release on a server? I'm sure some of you are, but I think we can all acknowledge the majority of those deployments are gonna be an LTS. And Ubuntu LTS releases receive 5 years of standard security maintenance for all packages in the main repository. Main is like the core of Ubuntu. There's also the universe packages. This is a lot more additional packages. Those are sort of a best effort situation. Sometimes they'll be maintained, other times they won't be. Good luck with that one, but main is the main thing they're focused on. This includes patching critical and high-risk CVEs and select medium-risk ones which may be relevant to the customer. But over the past 10 or so years, I guess, about 10 or so years now, there has been a bit of a shift through the use of containerized software, through the use of snaps and things like that. So if you want to run an LTS base, but still want to have certain components be completely up to date, that is something you can do. Say you want to run an LTS base and then have modern browser features or, I don't know, modern chat client, things like that. That is something you can do. Obviously, you could also do so in the past through the use of compiling the software, but then you got to worry about dependencies, and when you're pulling out dependencies of the core system, then you start to break things, and you have some fun. And if you want to know more about the difference between main and universe, I'll leave this explanation linked down below. Universe is basically your extra packages. It's things that you probably want, like, you know, PHP support and Go and Python and various other tools, but they don't make sense to be a core part of the system. That's the TLDR. And this table used to be on the Ubuntu website. I don't know whatever happened to it. I don't know if it's still there and I just can't find it anymore, but this breaks down what is included in the LTS. So basic LTS, 5 years for main, and then best effort for universe. You don't get kernel live patching or optional support. That is phone and ticketing support, things like that. And you don't get a lot of these additional extra things. But this takes us into the next tier, Ubuntu Pro. Now, Ubuntu Pro is not new. This is not the thing I want to talk about, but we have to talk about it to get into the thing I actually want to talk about. In the enterprise space, Ubuntu Pro is definitely not new, but when it comes to the general public availability of it, late 2022, it went public beta, and then early 2023, it went general availability. Now, with the basic Ubuntu LTS, the 5 years you get, this is something you just get by using Ubuntu. With Ubuntu Pro, it's a little bit more involved. Not that involved, but a little bit more. So for free personal use, you can just sign up for it, and you can get an additional 5 years of support. If we're talking about enterprise use, that is going to come with enterprise pricing. For free personal use, this is up to 5 physical machines, or 50 if you're an Ubuntu community member. This involves being an Ubuntu contributor and things like that. So if you're involved in the Ubuntu community, if you do things to help out Ubuntu, 50 machines, I don't know what you're going to do with that, maybe build servers, who knows, but for most of us here, it's 5 machines. This includes additional features like kernel live patching, which is something the regular user basically shouldn't be doing. If you want to go and update your kernel on a regular machine, just update the kernel, power it down, restart it, and you're good. Live patching isn't a long-term solution. It's a stopgap for a system that cannot be shut down. And if, of course, enterprises love their phone and ticketing support, that is also included in Ubuntu Pro. However, it should be noted this is an additional tier on top of Ubuntu Pro. So, you know, they don't want just a bunch of regular people spamming their support line. This is really intended for the enterprise user. However, if you have a smaller scale deployment, if you're an Ubuntu community member, you want to deploy, I don't know, some package mirrors, for example, there can still be value in going down this route. For the regular person, though, getting 10 years of support on a system just doesn't really make much sense. For most of us out there, it's just a lot easier to go and update the system to anything being supported and then move on with our day. If you're an enterprise user, that might mean upgrading hundreds of machines, thousands of machines. It might mean trying to make sure your enterprise software is actually working on the newer version, and this can be a very, very expensive endeavor. And I would guess a lot of you probably don't actually know about Ubuntu Pro because you're probably not using it, as it's not really directed towards most of you. What you may know it for, though, is this here. Back in 2023, Ubuntu's new terminal ad is angering users. So you would go and update your system, and there'd just be this little thing here saying, hey, you can get additional security updates in the future with Ubuntu Pro. This is with a version that I believe would be fully supported at the time. And they're just saying, hey, sign up for Ubuntu Pro. Again, keep in mind, it's free. They just want you in the Ubuntu ecosystem. However, as I said, this is not the end. So back in 2024, another LTS window was created. Now we have the Legacy add-on for Ubuntu Pro. This extended the support period out to 12 years, starting with Ubuntu 14.04 LTS. Running the latest operating system offers new features and enhanced performance, which is a good choice for new deployments. However, for large, established production systems, the transition to a new OS version presents a challenge as it may involve updating the entire software stack running on top of it. This complexity is amplified by modern software architectures that incorporate containerization, microservices, extensive data management features, as well as integration with third-party APIs. This is lots and lots of marketing speak for... Turns out, we have a relatively non-insignificant number of enterprise users who are still on 14.04 LTS and do not want to update and are willing to pay us a lot of money to make sure they don't have to update. And this is not some crazy idea. Pay attention to when this was announced. March in 2024. This was just about the end of the support for 14.04 LTS. This extended it for another 2 additional years. Clearly they have customers who really want to keep using it. Now, I don't know exactly why. However, someone did point out to me that 14.04 is the last version that didn't ship with Snap. You can use Snap on it, but Snap is something that was added to it after the fact. It didn't originally come with Snap. I don't know if that's the real reason. I don't know why exactly this is the case, but it's a very interesting coincidence if not. Now, the Legacy add-on is an add-on. It is not an extension of the Ubuntu Pro period, so this doesn't apply to regular free users who just sign up for Ubuntu Pro. This is only a paid add-on, and very likely is only being paid for by enterprise users. I don't know why any regular user would go and buy this, but for those enterprise users who desperately want it, Canonical is willing to provide. However, that's not what I want to talk about today. I did want to talk about the Legacy add-on, but not the announcement from 2024, because the support period for 14.04 LTS is going to end next year. So, what does Canonical do? They extend the Legacy add-on an additional 3 years. This takes Ubuntu LTS, the entire support period, the initial 5-year LTS, the 5 years of additional Pro, and then 5 years of legacy add-on to 15 years of support. So 1404 goes until 2029, and that also means 2404 LTS, 2039. Due to the positive reception and growing interest in longer lifecycle coverage, we're excited to now extend the legacy add-on to 5 years, bringing a 15-year security maintenance and support window to Ubuntu LTS releases. Again, that is marketing speak for the 1404 users still want to pay us a lot of money, and why would we deny them? Throughout the 15-year window, Ubuntu Pro provides continuous security maintenance across the entire Ubuntu base, kernel, and key open source components. Canonical's security team actively scans, triages, and backports critical, high, and select medium CVEs to all maintained LTS releases, ensuring security without forcing disruptive major upgrades that break compatibility or require recertification. Break/fix support remains an optional add-on. When production issues arise, you can get access to our support team through the servers and troubleshoot with experts who contribute to Ubuntu every day, who've seen similar issues before and know how to resolve them quickly. So the legacy add-on, the extension to the legacy add-on, is literally just the previous legacy add-on, just with an additional few more years added to it to make it a total of 5 years. Here is a nice little chart if you're interested in seeing that, but it's basically what I already said before about the support period. And basically, the legacy add-on is available after the first 10 years of coverage, that is, the first 5 years of LTS, and then 5 years of Ubuntu Pro, standard security maintenance plus ESM, and optional break/bug fix support, priced at a 50% premium over standard Ubuntu Pro. Again, enterprise users have to pay for Ubuntu Pro. It's going to be 50% more expensive than that currently is. Now, enterprise pricing is a little weird. It depends on deployment sizes and hardware and all this good stuff, so finding out exact pricing is a little bit difficult. Now, I'm going to assume the majority of installations are server installs, but let's just assume someone has a desktop install of 1404. What desktop are they actually looking at? Well, that's right in the middle of Ubuntu and Unity. This was Unity 7 at the time. I wasn't there, but people who were remember the argument. Remember the swap to Unity and how angry people were. And then remember the swap away from Unity and how angry people were. Basically, people were just angry. It was a very interesting time for Ubuntu and a very complicated time for Canonical, because they weren't just involved in the server, embedded, and desktop back then. They also wanted to do phones and tablets and TV stuff, and I've talked about all this stuff in prior videos. Basically, Unity was the unification of all of these devices, and a lot of companies were trying to do this at the time. They were thinking, okay, in the future, the phone is going to be your one computing device. You're going to dock it into a TV. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to have the same experience across every single device. And maybe that's going to happen sometime into the future, but a lot of companies really undershot it. And Canonical especially so, as a lot of the things that they said they had, like the TV, just wasn't real. The phone was a really, really successful Indiegogo campaign, I believe? Yeah, I think it was Indiegogo. And, well, that didn't really go anywhere. Partially due to the specs being made up. And I think they were claiming better specs than the iPhone at the time from an Indiegogo campaign. That was not going to happen. Anyway, side tangent over. It's one thing if a system is powering a mechanical arm, right? It hasn't been updated in 15 years. It makes sense it's running Ubuntu 14.04. But in that case, it's likely not being updated, at all. I want to know what systems are running 14.04 still, are actually in deployment in a way that security actually matters. It's not an air-gapped system. It's something where, it's networked, it's powering a website, something like that. If you happen to have a 14.04 system in deployment, tell me about it. I would love to know why. So, let me know your thoughts down below. If you're in an enterprise position, would you want to pay 5 additional years of support to keep using a legacy version of Ubuntu? Are you in a situation where you're actually doing so? I'd love to know. So, let me know your thoughts down below. If you liked the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe, Daily Bearer Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and next we're going to have a 20-year LTS.